Hey, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alan. This is Cast of Life. So we took a little bit of a hiatus there, about a 2-week break. Just super happy to be back recording videos again for you guys. Today's video, of course, is going to be about the Bassmaster Elite Series event down on Lake Chickamauga. So the weather's just been bonkers, lots of rain and cold and just not very pleasant here in Tennessee. So bass have been wanting to move up to spawn. They've been wanting to come up shallow, but a series of cold fronts, one after another has kind of come through and just made it very difficult across the state, in my opinion. I know here locally where I'm at, it's been pretty tough. So looking forward to this weekend, because I think with the pros coming there to Chickamauga, that lake has got some bonkers bass in it. I think one of the recent tournaments had a one that weighed over 12 pounds. It's kind of a unique place because you've got the Florida strain, plus you've got the northern bass, and then they make a hybrid called a tiger bass. And a lot of times that's what these guys are catching, is those hybrids, and they get much, much bigger than the northern strain largemouth, as the Florida bass do. But then they're super hardy too, so they can take the weather swings and the temperature swings and fluctuations that the Florida strain don't really do too well with. So unique place. So having said that, I'm just going to dive right into my picks for this week. We'll start off in Group E. Group E was actually pretty easy for me to pick. Because Group E contains a guy that you may or may not know this, but Group E has Jacob Fouts, who is a guide there on Lake Chickamauga. So, he should have more local knowledge than just about anybody in the tournament. Even though Chickamauga is a very popular lake, and a lot of guys, especially those pros, they kind of know it up one side and down the other. But with Jacob being a guide there in the off season, I think he's going to have a good chance to have a good finish there in the tournament. So Jacob Fouts out of Group E. So out of Group D, I'm probably going to change this. I was going to go with Stephen Kennedy. A lot of people are riding Jason Christie, but I'm looking at Todd Alton. I feel like he's probably going to just really show out. So I'm actually going to change my pick from Stephen Kennedy, and I'm doing this on the fly as we speak, so to Todd Alton. So I think I may have, he's the very first name on the list, and I think I missed him when I went through this the first time. If I would have seen him, I would have taken him immediately. Okay, so Todd Alton out of Group D. So Group C, now this group was a pretty interesting group. You're looking at just a really cool mixture of anglers in this group. There's Chris Johnston, there's Seth Fighter. This is probably going to be a shallow water tournament, so I would think that he would be an excellent pick. Looks like a lot of people have kind of jumped on his bandwagon there too. See, there's John Cruz, but I went with Lee Livesey simply because he's got, out of the last 3 times that they visited Chickamauga, he does have a win there. Now, it wasn't an October event, I believe, last year or year before, when they went to, they had to move it because of COVID. Then they moved the tournament to October. So, but that does not matter in my opinion, just simply because, sometimes an angler can just have a really good relationship with the lake. And I think that this may be one of those situations. So out of Group C, I took Lee Livesey. Out of Group B, okay, at the last event, I jumped on board and said I was a Brian New fanboy, and this week I'm looking at this group, and against probably my better judgment, I'm going with Scott Martin. I just think Scott just has it together this year. He's had 2 championship Sunday finishes in a row now, going back to including the Bassmaster Classic. So I think Scott's really getting it together and should have a good tournament here as well on Chickamauga. So good luck to Scott Martin. Now Group A, this is the one that I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth on, and judging by the number of people who have selected one of these 2 guys that I'm about to mention, it's not quite a dead heat, but it's real close. So the first one is, of course, Buddy Gross, being there from Chattanooga, and just, being the type of angler he is, it just really matches up well. 28% of the field has chosen him. I went the other direction. I spoke a little bit against John Cox in the last event, since he had fished that Florida tournament and then came in the day before. So I thought he wouldn't have enough time to pre-fish and that might consequently hurt his finish. I turned out to be wrong about that. So this time around, I am not going to sleep on John Cox, and I think this tournament, if the weather maybe is a little bit warmer or than the 50-something degrees that they're calling for, if those fish really do make a good push up shallow, man, John Cox is going to be on the button there. So anyway, out of Group A, John Cox is my pick. And that rounds up the picks. I will throw out there that this is another slugfest kind of a lake. We could see, again, just giant weights. There's giant bass in this lake. You know, like I said, recently at one of their tournaments, there was one that was over 12 pounds weighed in. You know, they're in there, and they are available to be caught. You know, it's just bonkers. And so we could see some giant weights in this tournament, or, you know, with it being the weather kind of being like it's going to be, they're going to catch them either way. But whether or not they catch them to the extent of they find enough to hold out for 4 days and catch, you know, 20 pounds a day or 25 pounds a day or 30 pounds a day, that remains to be seen. So for my winning weight, for my tiebreaker, I did pick 80 pounds and 6 ounces. That's probably going to end up being light. I'm going to guess that somebody's just going to just murder them when they're down there. So we'll see how that shakes out, but I'm excited to watch it. This is one of the lakes that I really was looking forward to this year, just simply because it's Chickamauga, and it's, you know, it's not too far from me where I'm at. So at any rate, I appreciate you guys tuning into the channel. We'll catch you next time. Watch a couple of other videos.